Blessings, beloveds. This is going to be literally probably a 5-minute audio recording just to show you guys the power of astrology in terms of when somebody basically leaves this world, right? Their chart is still activated. And so I'm just checking that I'm sharing my screen, and I am. So let me just bring the chart back up. So this is Jeffery Dahmer. I've spoken about him a little bit of late as I've watched the series, the Netflix series that came out. I've watched a lot of other things as well about him. The actual real life recording that was collected over a period of time between him and his lawyer, psychiatrists, and so forth. This is when he was apprehended and sentenced to 16 consecutive lives of imprisonment because the state of Milwaukee did not have the death penalty at that time, back in the 90s. I don't know if they do now. In any case, I've watched a lot of material. The Netflix series, it lures you in. It's very dark. Some people can't watch it. Some people don't want to watch it. That's each to their own. However, I just want to outline first of all, that the family members of the victims are really not very happy about this series, and they've expressed a lot of anger and distress and a lot of emotions, a lot of verbalization is being thrown at it, right? And it's understandable. How can we even really understand what they're feeling unless we, walk through their shoes, right? They lost their sons in what could be classed as the most bizarre, inhumane, insane manner, right? So, how do you find meaning through that? Very, very difficult. Anyway, the series was released on the 21st of September. That's why I've got a bi-wheel around his chart, and I'm going to actually come back probably after November, perhaps, and just do a video on his natal chart and the signatures that I can see speak to his life story in the various ways. But for now, I just wanted to show you guys, and I've seen this before, this is not the first time, when somebody passes on, the chart can get activated at any time, really. Could be months later, could be years later, could be 100 years later, whenever. There's no logical reason as such. It's just things erupt from the past, which is Pluto, the unconscious and the unconscious collective, and so forth. And given that I've made that statement, if you see here, transiting Pluto is conjunct his IC. Pluto is a symbol of the past. The IC is also a symbol of the past. So the fact that we see Pluto conjunct that angle, that is really in line with what's transpired over the last few weeks, the rebirth, as it were, of that story. Transiting Chiron is conjunct his moon. In this case, what this is reflecting, the moon always equates to the masses, and Chiron conjunct the moon is definitely reflecting the grief, the pain, the wounding that these family members of the victims endured over a long period of time. And now, how many years later? 30 years later, there's a revival, of the most horrific events that these individuals endured. And so that's Chiron on the moon, okay? Transiting Neptune is conjunct his south node. So the south node is a symbol of the past, his past, and it is in Pisces, and Neptune rules glamour, cinema, cinematography, movies, and so forth. And so there's been a series made, which is, it's been seen by, I've just forgotten the exact figure, but it's in the extremely high millions and millions and millions of people have tuned into it and watched it. So, and he did have a cult following, and I believe he probably still does. So, there's that Neptune projecting the glamour onto what was extremely diabolical and devastating for people. So there's that. In addition to that, the transiting South Node is conjunct his natal Neptune. The South Node always, again, connects to the past. It is a very dark past. Scorpio, his Neptune was in Scorpio. Transiting Ceres, transiting Saturn, conjunct Neptune. There's another connection there about loss. Saturn Ceres is separation, loss, severing, things like that. So there's quite a few connections. We can go further and say transiting Mars was transiting the 8th house while this series was released on the 21st of September. Transiting Uranus is conjunct Venus. The North Node, transiting North Node is conjunct the vertex. So, and also transiting Jupiter, conjunct his natal Mars, is the expansion of this person's actions when he lived. Jupiter expands whatever it touches. What's it expanding here? The Mars in Aries, which was the gruesome acts that this soul individual performed, committed, which were extremely vile and violent and diabolical and beyond comprehension, frankly speaking. So anyway, I just wanted to flag this, for a few minutes, just spend a couple of minutes just showing you guys, thus is the power of energy, because these planetary bodies that you see here in the inner wheel and then on the outer wheel are just basically symbols of energy, which speak to the past, the present, and the future. And in terms of time on the Earth's dimension, we have a way of measuring that we and what we use to measure that is the past, the present, and the projected future. So we have this timeline that we work with. We project a timeline in order to identify the past, present, future. And that's ruled by Saturn, of course. That's why Saturn rules age, the biological clock, and so forth. But in terms of spiritual time, soul time, divine time, it's not as simple as that. It doesn't start somewhere, reach a middle point, and then end. It's infinite. And that's why, as energy just continues to evolve, which is what all these planets are doing in all their cycles, as they continue to cycle around, they are evolving. And that evolution is integrating into our own consciousness. And whether we are here in the physical or not, that consciousness is always present somewhere and is infinite, and so is the soul. So why wouldn't these energies therefore revive something such as a birth chart when the individual is no longer in the body? It's here it is right here. I'm literally pointing out such powerful correspondences with current transits of 21st of September relative to his own natal chart that clearly describe the exact elements of him, his story, what happened, and what's happening at the present moment. And namely, Pluto on the IC has been huge activation for all of this. I'm aware that in the past there have been other films that have been made, like there was a movie a few years ago that was made about Jeffrey Dahmer's life story. There's also been, multiple interviews over the years, since this case was cracked, as it were, opened up. So there has been, a lot of other bits and pieces floating through time. So this is not the first time we're seeing this, but this is something else at a bit of a different rate and level, I feel, particularly with the Netflix series. And furthermore, where is Mercury? Mercury was retrograde in Libra at that time, but it wasn't long after that where it went back into Virgo, right? And while there's been tremendous focus, intense focus on the series and people talking about it, people obsessing about it, Mercury jumped into Virgo and formed a trine to Pluto. And that's been the communication, conversation, sharing, expressing, deep sort of interest in it. I've had people email me about this, all sorts of things. Some astrologers are talking about it, others are not, each to their own. But anyway, in any case, I will come back and talk about his natal chart because it's really, for me, he's just such an intriguing soul. I mean, yes, it's diabolical and yes, it's sickening. But because I've always had an interest in the human psychology and in the soul, ever since I can remember, I've had and it's not a Gemini interest. It's not like a little curiosity. Oh, what does that mean? I've had a very deep, profound, explorative desire into understanding the mechanics of human beings and the soul as long as I can remember. And perhaps that's why I studied psychology, became a therapist, worked in counseling, therapy, etc. for quite a few years. Have always been involved in astrology since I was 12. And my drive and deep interest is always about understanding, inner standing, and that includes my own self, of course, my own soul's journey. And through everything I've studied and learned and practiced and have explored and experienced, I try to bring forth what I can in order to share with people for the purposes of helping those people on their journey, if I can, in any way, shape, or form. So, once again, I'm not afraid of the darker shades of life, the components that most people are repulsed by, let's say, don't want to know about, don't want to look at, don't want to talk about it, don't want to hear about it. And there's lots of complex reasons as to why people make that choice as well, some of which involves lots of unconscious material that people haven't resolved within themselves, because when we suppress something, the only thing that's going to happen is that it's going to be projected outside of ourselves onto another person, situation, place, etc. That is an absolute truth. There's no debating that. That's not a personal opinion. That's not an idea. That's the state of existence, of life. Carl Jung couldn't have said it better, when he said, and I'm paraphrasing at the moment because I can't recall the exact quote, but it was something to the effect of, that the more we remain unconscious about who we are, about our own state, about our own soul, consciousness, psyche, etc., the more we're going to project it outside of ourselves and meet it as fate, see it as fate, and experience it as fate. So becoming more conscious enables us to basically do far less projecting of our own stuff, crap, junk, whatever it is. Fears, anxieties, phobias, paranoias, lust, whatever it is, right? So the journey of the soul continues, whether it's incarnate in the physical or whether it's transcended in other dimensions. And this is just a very simple example, but a very powerful one. So I'll leave it there and I'll be seeing you guys very soon. Much love and many blessings. Star blessings. See you soon. Bye for now. Oh, I've lost my arrow. There you are. Bye for now.